And since it started 3 years ago, it has gone across the city. Pre COVID, there were in person interviews of long-time residents, but now it's gone digital because of COVID. And in the future, it will be a hybrid of both so that it captures as many stories as possible. And if in 2050, somebody wants to look back at this time in 2021, they'll know what happened because this project serves to fill that gap. We are interested in the truth of the residents, and this is an inquiry of the New York City personal perspectives, different reflections of the city through your stories, their stories, our stories. And this is a launching event that will be followed by many more collaborations with the Nuyorican Poets Café, like the one that we initially did, from Stories of Women Who Move Us to coming up in June, Pride Month's event is in the work. So stay tuned. So, like I was flowing in the beginning about being born and raised in Soundview in the Boogie Down Bronx. Something that I could say about Soundview is that I've always loved it. There is definitely an energy there, from the hip hop to the South Side, a lot of musical energy, but the indigenous energy as well. To learn recently that there was a Siwanoy village right where I live in Soundview for thousands of years before the 1600s. It fascinates me, and I've lived there my whole life, only to travel around the world looking for indigenous stories, only to come home and realize I was on one the whole time. So I just wanted to share that about Soundview. But I'm going to do a little poem. This is a little more general. This is about the Bronx itself, because a lot of us tonight are representing this borough, the only borough that is not an island. It's part of the mainland, the Bronx. If these streets could talk, they would yell and whisper at the same time about beauty and crime. Signs of the times are everywhere. Some people cry and some people don't care. And some don't know the difference between living here or there, because these streets play tricks on you. Who needs to watch their back when we are confronted face to face with this place where we birthed hip hop, the mainland of the boroughs, home of the Yankees? These streets are paved with gold memories, bronzed ballrooms, emblazoned breweries, and historic block parties. Horses before trains, steps before strides. These blocks are hot even when it's cold outside. And this yin-yang big bang boogie down theory, clearly you will see there is magic in these here parts. And sometimes my dog barks. And at the end of every start, there's a pulse from the heart of the universe. When things are bad, we remember it could be worse, that we are not the last nor the first. From death comes rebirth, and the Bronx is the center of the earth. The body language that you speak is from here. Roof. The attitude you exude is from here. The history you take with you is from here. But some people on the street are in a deep sleep. Their eyes may be open, but they're still too blind to see that the Bronx is a place for dreaming while awake. And these dreams give you something people can never take away. Our awakened state becomes conscious of the power. It is the flower that grows between the cracks in the sidewalk. It is the roots beneath that lift the cement, regardless of its heaviness. It is fullness. It is emptiness. It is the first glimpse of your soul. It is to break out of the mold or the need to control. It is acceptance of reality. The Bronx is pure enlightenment and awareness. And if you don't feel it, then you aren't there yet. Close your eyes and jump on the cosmic metro, and presto, you are in the black hole of the Boogie Down Manifesto. So take a leap of faith. There is no time nor waste. Life here is all about what you make it. Your spirit can feel down, but just embrace it, because everything changes and the goal is for the better. And everyone is a star here, and the brilliance is stellar. The Bronx, today, tomorrow, forever. Woohoo, and that's my poem. Oh my goodness. So here we go. Now, let us bring in Elena Abud, and she will speak about this project that we are doing.
Thank you, Caridad. My name is Elena Bumrabd, and I am the project coordinator at Neighborhood Stories. As Caridad was saying, Neighborhood Stories is a storytelling initiative by the New York City Department of Records, and the goal is to gather and preserve in perpetuity the memories of New York City residents and community members. So the aim is to empower local residents to tell their own stories and provide their historical narrative, so that future researchers, teachers, students, activists, and just interested residents can track the changes in the city and learn about them. This initiative is the future of archival study because it diversifies the kind of materials that we keep into our municipal archives. It creates a deeper connection between the Department of Records and the community it serves, so that the records can reflect the community and the community can feel represented by the city agency. This project serves also an important scope, which is to humanize the urban narrative, because the history of New York City is often presented in a very fact-driven way that forgets about people's personal experiences. And also it often only presents one perspective. Instead, with this project, we want to reflect the diversity of the urban experience, and we want to reflect this diversity by interviewing people of different ages, ethnicities, and walks of life. So I hope that you will join and share your neighborhood stories with us. My colleague Raul is going to share all of the helpful links in the chat, and you will see them in the program going forward.
Awesome, Elena, and we will be seeing you in the program. Looking forward, and I'm excited about that. I'm also excited to introduce our first featured poet, a friend of mine. I feel like we've grown up together at the Nuyorican Poets Café. I mean, we're all family here.
That's right.
And also a teacher celebrating a party in your house in the Bronx, representing JF Seary.
Thank you so much. I'm actually in the barrio right now where my grandfather lives. But the barrio has been home and the Bronx is most definitely home. So here's my poem, Nuyorican Tales, and I hope everybody enjoys. And this is just what it was like to grow up in New York as a young Boricua person. My heart beats to the rhythm of the clave. Caribbean sun-kissed skin, mi piel café con leche. Coffee bean colored, these are the eyes of my mother. Raised by the Bronx, musing on medleys of salsa, pouring Hector Frankie, Cele Ruben from apartment windows, inspiring spontaneous song and dance from locals watching games of domino on city sidewalks. Childhood memories of syrupy sweet tamarindo piraguas and playing in pompas to cool down on heat-drenched summer city days. We eagerly anticipated the Puerto Rican Day Parade with our banderas held high. We shouted, ¡Huepa! Que viva Puerto Rico, isla del encanto y amor de mi alma. Never questioning whether our pride was innate or instilled, we were raised to love all of who we were, and mommy didn't tolerate ignorance. We were raised on a strict diet of pernil, arroz con gandules y yuca. We ate barrio frituras and drank jugo de guayaba from Goya cans. Christmas meant pasteles, coquito, arroz con dulce, and an extra present for leaving grass under your bed para los Reyes Magos. We took annual pilgrimages to Borinquen, island of my mother's birth, island of my soul's content, a chance to become one con nuestras raíces cultural. Bright-eyed and hopeful, we sang schoolgirl choruses of Alegre vengo de la montaña de mi cabaña, que alegre están. Y a mis amigos les traigo flores de las mejores de mi rosal. Time spent con mami Pachita with mis tíos y tías I miss. My grandmother's eyes, knowing Papito Quique from old tales y Mama Chonga, a testament to an ancestry rooted in slavery. A return to New York City, Nueva York, where school buildings are named after Tito Puente, Julia de Burgos. We hung images of Don Pedro Albizu Campos in our homes. We were fluent in Spanglish, raised on Popeye, El Chavo del Ocho, Good Times, Mary Poppins, and we watch Iris Chacon shake that cadera on television. Este orgullo was born in me, rooted in my mother's journey, grounded in New York cement with divine inspiration. I pen my history. This is my story, a tale of two countries, two languages, one Nuyorican, one me. Thank you so much, everyone, for being here tonight. And thank you to my family for making me Puerto Rican and born aquí en Nueva York.
Beautiful. JF Seary. Hey. Brought us into your living room. That's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Wow. People were loving it, even in the chat, saying you're amazing. That poem's hitting. Fabulous. If you are interested in learning more about this and you want to share your story, you can email stories@records.nyc.gov. I just want to say that out loud for those of you that are not on the chat, that are watching on YouTube and Facebook and wherever else this goes, because viral is viral. So now we're going to go all the way to Long Island by way of Queens. We're bringing you the poetry of Ramya Ramana.
Hello, everybody. I just want to say, Seary, I've heard you perform that like several times, but it is such a treasure to see your family like celebrate you while you read it. It's so beautiful to witness that. So I just want to say that's such a treasure. And happy birthday to your grandpa. This poem is called New York. A constellated skyscraper moving gracefully to jazz beat, finding the Gil Scott Heron in all her footwork, gripping the street lights like an eclipse of hymnals. This is home. The lost voices, the heart's devotion to beat and pulse, slow dancing kernels, home to hustle, home to work hard, dream harder, home to move in silence. Let success shatter the glass of hostage echoes. New York, not lights, not Broadway, not Times Square. It is a single mother donating her last meal's worth of money to church. It is the faith in that heart that makes a dead dream worth resurrecting. It is coffee-colored children playing hopscotch on what is left of a sidewalk. It is chalk outlined, colonized map on a street as dark as the bones of the dead. This we call holy. This we call tough skin, thick boned, no more brownstones and brown skin playing tug of war with the pregnant air hovering over them like an aura of lost children. No more colored boy robbed of their innocence. This city will always be a foundation. We are root, we are backbone, we collage of creatures stomping to be reminded of the mammals inside of us. We chance, we deserve us opportunity, us new beginning like dancing cocoons, us hope, us fight, us happen, us love us some good human, us happy, we happy with the radical. It is a constant baptism to remind us of our holy. To the nights I memorize the moon, to the quietest moments that hold a mouthful of riot, to every day on every delay on the F train to Jamaica, Queens, to the curses under my breath, undoing all the hallelujahs from Sunday mornings, to the coworker that traded his goodbyes with get home safe texts, to the corner store chef whose sandwich tastes like a 5-star meal when dawn is playing peekaboo with the sky, to my father reminding me to get some rest, to the scripture that demands me to know this isn't forever, to award shows and how they tease a young poet's heart, to the shows pulling a corpse between my bones, to the heart's twitch for more, to the velvet functioning as an invisible cape stuck in my lungs, to the autoimmune disease that snakes its symptoms as an aftermath to my stress, to the bills that still need to get paid, to the days that love will be unattainable, to dreams, to dreams, to dreams, to know that we can still dream, to know dreaming is not a vehicle of escape, but a greater call to our survival. Thank you so much.
Woo! Ramya, that was fire. What was that pregnant air hanging over us? Ah! Love it. Love it. Love it. So we just added one more person to the open mic list. That will be Rosalind. So we now have 3 open micers at the end. That sounds really good to me. Before we get into our next featured poet, we would like to show a little film.
Hi, my name is Iris Havel, and I'm a lifetime resident of Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. This is the Central Bainbridge Street Community Garden. It is one of the gardens of the Brooklyn Queens Land Trust. It was founded several years ago by a group of women in the neighborhood. I got involved for purely personal reasons, right? At the time, I was working just part-time and home taking care of my mom. And I've always loved flowers and gardening and nature anyway. Didn't have a lot of that in the projects. We were able to plant flowers on the side or in a pot and stuff. But after I relocated, after my family bought a home a few blocks away, I was able to garden in the backyard. But I came to this garden for the sense of nature. Growing up, I would say it was always bustling, busy. We had like a lot of families, but we were close together. The mothers, the fathers, they had their friendships, and the children had their friendships as we grew up. Different times. It was fun. We felt safe. I never felt like unsafe like young people do today. Felt pretty safe. You hear people talk about how the older generation would look out for the children or discipline them if necessary. That was true. That happened. I don't know if you know Dr. Adelaide Sanford. She was our principal at the time in 21. And she went on to become one of the state regents for New York State. And she's actually a regent emeritus, meaning that she served so well. She served with distinction. But a lot of people don't know about her, but people who really know her. I remember growing up and taking some classes at Hunter, and they were like in social community work and hearing about stereotypes of people of color. And I knew that wasn't true because all the people I knew worked. Both my parents always worked hard. My mom was my role model. She was a nurse, and I didn't know that I was following her footsteps so directly, but yeah, I ended up going to nursing school. Bed-Stuy is going to survive one way or the other. You know, there are definitely pockets of people lost who have had to move and stuff, but there are deep roots here.
That was sweet. Beautiful to listen, just to her tone and to see the images. I'm so happy that was captured. So we saw a bit of Brooklyn, and our next poet reps Brooklyn out of the Bronx, Castle Hill, very close to where I am from. Ladies and gentlemen, this woman, I've grown up with Jani too. We've been on stages, on TV screens, and protests, and all kinds of things together. Ladies and gentlemen, Jani Rose.
Thank you, darling. Thank you, Bella. Blessings to you in La Isla. I'm a little jelly. I want to be there with you. You didn't take me. Like Wordz mentioned, I'm like, when you gonna take me? When you gonna take us with you? What a beautiful experience to drink in the neighborhood that you're in through all of your amazing posts. Thank you for sharing Puerto Rico with us, my love. Love to the Nuyorican Poets Café for inviting us to participate in this amazing archival experience. Thank you. So often we talk about marginalized voices and not being heard, and we do this work to make sure that the stories are told and that we are remembered and we are acknowledged y que estamos presente. So thank you for this opportunity. It's important that we love on one another because of not in spite of what's going on in the world, and what's been going on has us spinning, and it's been this way since the world started spinning. So, it's a lot of work that we put into it, but we're going to continue to love up on each other and do the work to dismantle this patriarchal racist system. And we're just gonna keep on going pa'lante. My name is Jani Rose. I was born in El Barrio, raised in the Bronx. I'm the mother of 4 beautiful Boricua humans. I'm an educator and a family advocate in the Bronx public school system. I grew up in Parkchester. Shout out to Leland legends and queens, who I just saw on Stickball Boulevard last weekend, getting my Leland Legends shirt because we are repping our hood.
That is so crazy. I live on Leland. I didn't know that there was a Leland Legends. I was like, I need a shirt. I need a shirt.
Sure. So we're gonna hook that up. Girl, from the same block. So, Georgie lives, hashtag Georgie lives, familia, fam, mi gente, my people. This is what we're fighting for: our family, our people, our hood. My hood, summertime vibes. My hood vibing with the hum of expectation. My spring feels like summertime bathed in fall, hot and humid, cool and breezy. Baby hair, curly cues pasted to moist brows and inviting napes. Necks and décolletage, exposed thighs pumping down the street in hottie short shorts. Hormones are spinning wildly all over, but it's all good. It's all part of nature in my hood, and we're feeling right. Feeling nostalgic on this wet day. Michael Jackson streams from the window above and to the left. La nena, sitting, gazing out the frame, has no idea what it means to her mommy, who's washing dishes, singing, Mama say, Mama sa, Mama kusa, in my hood. We sit on the benches, lean on chain link fences, vibing, cracking jokes as the sun goes down. No one wants to go in for dinner because once one leaves, everyone else does. It's the chileando trickle away law. No one wants to get up to go to the store. Don't want to miss anything, snapping and laughing. Life when I was a shorty. And the youngins, they flirt, they smile, trying out these mating rituals so brand new to those playing with the glances that have been practiced for decades. Centuries, millennia. Papi gave mommy that look, I bet. Even the little ones, running, chasing, innocent, grabbing hands, playing, pulling to and pushing fro, drinking up, so innocent, but not so innocent in my hood. Gentleman with the basketball outside of church, as he is God's child. Black plastic garbage bag full. That must be a good brand. That damn thing lasts forever. His tattered gray coat and beaten hat, his uniform. Thank God we're downwind. Holds our breath as we pass. Pastor asks him if he wants to enter and take a bath. He said, for what? I'll be dirty again in no time. In my hood. Brisa smells like garlic, rain and sweat, perfume, cologne, and rice and beans. This place is packed with diners and people holding little numbers. The bandejas de arroz, fluffy and steamy, aromatic, sofrito, adobo, y sazón, makes mouths water as they wait for their order. Las bolsitas llenas de comida. Man, I can already taste it. 2 bags full of food for $35. Tasting like a home-cooked meal in my hood. Last day of school inspires new teens to daydream. This summer will be so much better than last summer. And long walks to the movies in the early afternoon, trips to the Bronx Zoo to catch the seals, Las Pompa no Llama on 90-degree mornings, Parkchester parks where the kids ain't allowed to do nothing but walk from the swing to the slide, public parks with 2 kids on swings together pumping like touching trees and hopping over fences. Yearbooks were signed today. Parents breathed relief sighs today. Tired of other people that don't know nothing about our kids telling us about our kids in my hood. It's time for fireflies. Stitches and bike scrapes and baseball, basketball till midnight, and music pumping from the cars as the Nenita ride-bys break their necks to peek for a potential cutie. BBQs at Pelham, hammocks and salsa at Orchard. I miss my childhood at this time of year. There's nothing better than being a kid and learning about life in my hood. Ain't no place perfect, but there's nowhere better for us. The public school across the street, the Chino store up the block with the cars and machines that my boys love to rock like me and my cousins did. My boys walks the streets that I walked and played with kids like the kids I played with. The sights and smells, the sounds are the same. It's the reason why I wouldn't leave the Bronx. I put down my roots and found me a home in my hood. So my boys could be about it. Educated by my books and my life. And as hard as times get, I won't have trouble explaining to them that they are safer than I ever was because we managed to find balance. And the kids I grew up with were doing kind of good and we're raising our kids right. So the energy is tight and we are sharing our light in my hood.
Yo, that was beautiful. Jani Rose. Wow. I felt that. I was there. I smelled the smells. I went there with you. That was so beautifully done. Bless your heart. Bless your heart. For all the good mommies out there, too. People were loving it. Look at that. In my hood, boom. People just loving the vibe. It's time for fireflies. Woo! And that shirt, tell me what, so that's a stickball team?
It's a stickball team from my block. My guys, my boys that we grew up with on the block. They stayed, they're still, their kids are playing stickball with them. They are running, they are doing their thing, man. They're staying young.
Gorgeous.
Loving up on each other. So Leland Legends, if you do hashtag Leland Legends, you'll see all this.
I'll see it.
And
Okay.
there's so much love and it's so beautiful. And they are doing an amazing job at raising their kids, man. Like
You are.
Good families, thank you.
Good beings. You know, that's all we could, is to make good human beings. Human beings. That's our contribution.
And connect them to other good human beings to keep them empowered and motivated.
That's right. Thank you, Jani Rose, everybody. That was so stunning. So now, this next poet that I'm going to bring to you is someone that is near and dear to my heart. He hosts the open mics at the Nuyorican Poets Café. He has the Monday night, I have the Thursday night, and sometimes we do it together. We're the Sonny and Cher of the New Yo. Advocate of Wordz.
What's going on, sis? How are you?
Good to see you.
Thank y'all for having me. I got 2 poems for you. One is I consider like macro, kind of stepping back and looking at the neighborhood as a whole. One's kind of micro. I'm like zooming in on something that happened in the neighborhood. So first, the macro. Let me pull that up. Okay. I was born a Puerto Rican gringo to a man who didn't speak to me in Spanish and a white woman who mamboed. I grew up in a neighborhood where Broadway dominated the gridiron. Bailey Avenue sparkled on the diamond. Marlboro Hill ruled the courts. Johnson Avenue hacked the Nintendos, and the kids from Riverdale, they seemed to own it all. My beginnings were diverse, and I was exposed to it all like a secret cabaret house on Boston Road. Hashish sales kept the bodega open. Livery cabs lived off the hookers' work, and the weed spots were policed by dealers who understood a clean and quiet block kept the business clean and quiet of cops. I was rubbing elbows with silver spoons, caught up on hood, bonchinchera, and hallways, cut class with my peers, tutored the lower grades, and learned from the old folk who felt my speech was mature enough to peep game. Home, where the hate is thicker than water and the love is stronger than death and taxes. Here, mass is bilingual, and we call our winter atheists football fans. I got my first black eye at Kingsbridge Little League, lost my virginity right before reaching the 231st Street train station stop, and wound up having to put our dog Coffee to sleep in between them both. It smelled like Borinquen empanadas, Dominican empanadas, Peruvian empanadas, brownies, stuffed shells, and the purple stuff. It was calm, ajar, filthy, sexy, and familiar. And now it's forever too late to go back. So that's the first poem about my neighborhood, the old neighborhood. And now I'm going to get into something that happened in my neighborhood, and I'm sure it's happened in many neighborhoods. That's the great thing about poetry. I always tell people, like, don't be afraid to be specific. You'd be surprised how many people can relate and get real specific. So that's what I'm doing with this, and this is something that probably should happen in a lot of neighborhoods. This is a story from when I was a teenager, and it's called On the Sixth Day. You know, son, my mother begins her testament. She confesses her understanding that I'm getting older and my body is creating urges. We only had another block to go before reaching church. I had never felt more religious than I did at that moment. I follow up with a silent estimate of how many more strides we have to go before God save me. We were more than a few Hail Marys away. She uses adjectives like dirty and stupid as spearheads to kill any temptations I had of being promiscuous, let alone sexually active as a teen. I was too young to have children referring to me as our Father. All I kept thinking about was getting extra dibs on the blood of Christ. As if I hadn't felt crucified enough, she crosses me. Sometimes I hope that, when you get that feeling, it's okay to go into the bathroom and holy shh. I stop her before any more talk of sin embarrasses Jesus. In my world, Mary and Mama miracles, given birth by way of immaculate conception. I refused to allow facts to sway my belief. I was prepared to be a fundamentalist son. A few feet from divinity's temple in blessed water, she lets me know the most important thing I am to understand are her intentions. I'd rather be having this conversation and going to church with you rather than without. Guardian Angel 1, Dirty Panty Girls 0. And that's my poem on the 6th.
You are a riot. I love it. Advocate of Wordz. Yes. And what an advocate you are. Apparently of more than words. Wow, that is so, so cool. I was there too. I was there. I saw it. I smelled it. I saw it. I just love the power of storytelling. I just love it so much. The pictures it paints and the travel that we take. So thank you, Advocate, for those contributions to neighborhood stories. Now I want to invite back the project coordinator of Neighborhood Stories, who is presently studying for a master's at CUNY. Please welcome back Elena.
Thank you so much. How can I follow that? I felt all the feelings and now I need to, woof. Okay, so I'm a new transplant in New York City, as you can tell from my accent. I moved here from Italy about 6 years ago. And so this poem, the title is Don't Be Mad at the Rain in New York City. Don't be mad at the rain in New York City, an old lover said. Look how shiny everything gets. In car commercials, as he put it, they need to use CGI to achieve the same thing, which is currently soaking my shoes, hitting my eyes, making me blink. I see traffic lights in the asphalt swim, buildings and cars pushed in the gutter, glimmering. The rain got in my hair today. I felt every drop cling to my thoughts, dragging them down, washing me clean. From the inside out, spill on the curb, flooding the street, water and salt, dragging the suit, swirling the leaves. I looked at my feet, and there I was, taller than skyscrapers, perfectly shiny.
Woo! That was lovely. How do you feel? Wait, unmute her. I want to make sure that she's complete with what she's just done. How do you feel?
This is awesome. It's been 2 years since I did an open mic and I really needed this for my soul. So thank you for having me, not only as the project coordinator, but as a performer.
As
I loved it.
a performer, as a poet, and a storyteller. That was so lovely. That was amazing. So, so lovely. Well, it's a perfect way to go into the next portion, which is the open mic portion. And it just goes to show you that you can be a project coordinator and a poet. You don't have to be one or the other. You can be all of that and then some. And just like this gentleman coming up, ladies and gentlemen, he's blessed the open mic before, and I'm happy to see him here. Scott Pleasant.
Hey, 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 how you doing?
Good. How are you, Scott?
I'm doing fantastic, fantastic. I said I'm listening to the stories, and I'm saying to myself, how in the world am I going to condense a story from the Bronx in 2 minutes or 3 minutes? But I'm going to give it a shot because our stories, I've been all over the world, but our stories are incredible from my parents riding the train uptown and being the only people of color still on the train stop when they get off, to my there you go, to my sisters, double dutch in the street. And I heard the young lady mention stickball, which is incredible. It's still around. We used to play skellies on our knees with the bottle tops. Oh my God, the stories are unbelievable. But with that said, I got a poem that I kind of revised, and it's called Remember That. And it goes like this. My neighborhood story is the place where my memories rest, uptown, the BX. Now, I'm going to take you back to the year 1976. I got off the train at Gun Hill Road, walked down the block, then jumped the curb. A car came so close, I could almost taste the paint. The driver said a few words, but to me, he was just being quaint. You see, this is how we communicated in that neighborhood that I'm from. Words do little to express the attitudes of some. I walked across the street onto White Plains Road. The avenue is what we called it. 2 lanes of traffic crammed in between the hollows of the elevated train track with all types of things going on. You always watched your back. I walked past the liquor store, the meat market, the bodega, the pizza shop, walked past the shoe store, the barber shop, the number joint, and the moms and pops. The avenue seemed to stretch for as far as the eye could see, that is, until it ran out and you were confronted with reality. This monstrosity of structures that was laid before us, some call them immovable objects. It was home, a 1-block radius, dubbed the projects. My neighborhood, 1976. This is where kids had paper routes and delivered the daily news, where they played basketball from sunup to sundown with holes in their shoes, where 2-hand touch, curveball, and stickball passed the time, where Spaldings were found behind the counter for maybe a dime, when the best music we heard came from the ice cream truck, and scrambling meant selling a loose joint for maybe a buck. They played handball until their palms were raw, then out came the paddles, still aiming for that wall. They rubbed the bottom off the cans to spray the cars, did backflips off the swings, the seesaws, and metal monkey bars. Would you believe that we went the whole day on a 25-cent bag of chips, sharing a pack of cookies, 10-cent freezer pops, and waiting in front of the water fountain for a sip? So let's fast forward, because we know most things have changed. And I'll tell you about a place, if only in my mind, that somehow has remained the same. Well, your moms may no longer to tell you to come inside when the street lights go on, but continue to remember the Bronx is still 1.4 million strong. And somehow, still somehow, after all these years, when I look to my left and I look to my right, in my neighborhood, the story goes, if you step on somebody's sneakers, be ready to fight. Peace.
Ooh. Scott Pleasance, repping the boogie. Thank you so much for your contribution. Neighborhood stories. Now it will live on forever. Thank you, Scott. Okay, now we're gonna go and listen to Jane's spoken word. What's good, Jane? Let me know where you are and what you're repping.
Well, I'm on East 3rd Street, and my piece is about the Nuyorican.
Woo! All right, we're taking you down to Alphabet City.
There we are in the Loisada. Yes. So, out my window beats the heart of humanity. On East 3rd Street, it's always a Monday night audacity. Munching on sweets from Rossi's Bakery. Poets and slammers line past my stoop. Dropping bars of beats and rhymes. At the Nuyorican, there's always a line. Checking their stance and polishing their shine. Poets and slammers line past my stoop. The hipsters and the blue men and the money talkers. Rhyming with the homeless cats doo-wopping on the corner. Getting down and dirty with the midnight stalkers. Poets and slammers line past my stoop. Dozens of poets unmasked for the play, spitting iPhone words and putting on sway. Walking the walk, saying the say, 'cause what the fuck? This is the Nuyorican Poets Café, where poets and slammers line past my stoop.
All right, Jane, spoken word. Speaking of our home, our artistic home, the Nuyorican Poets Cafe, 3rd Street between Avenue B and C. So real, so true. Thank you so much for that, Jane. Makes me nostalgic. So we're gonna go back to the Boogie Down Bronx with our next open mic poet, Rosalind Diaz, through her big brown eyes.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Awesome. So I'm going to share with you guys my piece that I dedicate to the Bronx. As you guys, some of you may know, I'm from the Bronx proudly. So I just inclined to share this with y'all. It goes like this. The Bronx, where car alarms and honking horns replace lullabies, where rooftops have witnessed midnight chats, summer loves, and tearful eyes, where fire escapes save you from more than just fires. They provide a space to dream. Dream in the city that never sleeps, where we could count city lights instead of sheep, where we find the beauty in the graffiti on the abandoned building on the corner, where the worker at the bodega has memorized your order, where bacon, egg, and cheese is one word and also morning fuel, where you know better than to talk to strangers because abuela ain't raised no fool, where you throw your spare change into the empty cup of the homeless guy sitting in the same spot since you were 13. By now he's like family, a place where a mother's whistle is the indication that it's time to come upstairs, where the nosy neighbors know the latest chisme, from recent fights to the most scandalous affairs, and the music blaring from the ice cream truck is the equivalent of Groundhog Day. And one side of the block blasts hip hop and the other classic salsa on any given Saturday, where the smell of coffee, sorry, I lost my spot, where the smell of café con leche is the sweetest alarm you'll ever need, where children's laughter at an open fire hydrant welcomes the summer heat, where you hear cocoa, mango, cherry, rainbow as the sun blazes on the hot concrete, where the ear knows the difference between a bullet and fireworks, not just on the 4th of July, where we embrace the magic of the melting pot as our worlds collide, where an L is not just the 12th letter of the alphabet, where the air smells like a mix of pollution, hope, and regret, And a game of handball is a form of meditation, home of the greatest artists, poets, singers, all exposing their creations. A lot of talent sprouted from here for many generations. This place owns my heart. Regardless of the land under my feet, the Bronx is my home, the place shaping me into the woman I am meant to be. End poem.
Woo! Rosalind Diaz. Thank you, Roz.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Beautiful. So, so beautiful. I smelled it too. That coffee, that alarm, the sweetest alarm. I love that. That's a beautiful line. So, so true. So that is the end of our first open mic portion. We're gonna see a short film, and then after the film, we'll have a chance to do a little Q&A, just a little cipher, open it up. And if anybody else is interested in sharing a poem or a story, please let me know in the chat. But for now, let's check out this video.
I came to Bed-Stuy in 1998. I was just coming out of a relationship, and I was living in Clinton Hill at the time, and so I was kind of trepidated with the thought of moving here because I just, was believing the stereotypes and the stigma attached to the neighborhood. But I asked someone who lives here that I knew what it was like, and he was like, "You'll be fine." So I got my 1-bedroom apartment on Clifton Place for $800 a month. And it was a beautiful apartment. And so then all of a sudden I fell in love with the neighborhood. Well, I chose to live here because I grew up in an all-white neighborhood on Long Island. And I was born in the South. So my family is primarily from the South, the Carolinas. And so Bedford-Stuyvesant has a very Southern culture here, Black Southern culture. So just seeing the multi-generations, it just felt like I was seeing my uncles and my aunts and my grandmothers just walking down the street, and my little cousins. So it really just felt like I was at home and I belonged here. And something with my spirit, it just felt like this is where I was supposed to be. My favorite street, I will say, is Mcdonald Street. There's something about that entire street that's just gorgeous, especially between Tompkins and Fruit. They have a lot of detached homes there that are recessed, kind of similar to the houses that you see over in Carroll Gardens. The brownstones, I love walking through the neighborhood with the brownstones and just seeing how regal the neighborhood really is.
Wow, those brownstones, stunning. Wow. My dad is from Red Hook, Brooklyn, and my mom is from, they both were born in Puerto Rico and came to New York City as little kids. And mommy was from like Jackson Avenue in the Bronx. And I don't think either of their buildings that they grew up in are there. But they actually met in Manhattan at a salsa club called La Mancha, which means the stain. And I always thought that was so romantic. My parents met at a nightclub called The Stain. And the rest is history. If it weren't for salsa, I wouldn't be here. So let's see. In the chat, I didn't see anybody come up with any questions. No one want to tell a story. Maybe Raul. I think that you're a great speaker, Raul Flores. If you want to come on up and say something, or Latanya, or our people from Neighborhood Stories themselves. We had, I had the opportunity to chat before this event and just learn so much about the organization itself. And so anybody want to unmute yourselves, put it in the chat if you'd like to speak. I sure would love to hear you.
So hi, Caridad. Thank you for hosting this wonderful event. I'm not a New Yorker. I was not born in New York, but I've been here for 28 years. and I have lived in different neighborhoods. I think my most, most of my memories of New York come from the Lower East Side, and from an area in Williamsburg called Los Sures. So it's the South Side. And I have a lot of friends. I have a lot of um, happy memories about people struggling and making things happen, and single mothers going to two jobs and at the same time teaching their kids at night, salsa dancing, merengue dancing, a lot of poetry, but above all that, a lot of hope. A lot of hope, but that this is a city that it is what it is because we are all diverse, and we all bring something, and we all bring a voice, and we all bring a different flavor to the table. It could be comino and garlic, or it could be something else that somebody brought from, Egypt. And all condiments are welcome in this city, and that's why this city is such a wonderful urban experiment. It's not even a city; it's an experiment.
It is it's that melting pot, right? You put all of those things into the pot.
Every day changing, and every day creating something. And sometimes it shocks us because it happens abruptly, or it happens in a very random way. But at the end of the day, we live together.
Yes. Are you originally from La Isla?
No, I am from Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. But I know La Isla. I've been to La Isla maybe like 3 times. There used to be a convention called Somos. I don't know if you remember that, in January. And I went there 3 times. I met a lot of community leaders, Maritza Davila, our state representative, was kind of a main organizer. And there was so much, the connection between, talking about Puerto Rico without talking about New York is impossible. Even if you start in the Bronx, you're going to end in La Isla. And if you start in La Isla, you're going to end in New York.
That is a great point, Raul. That is an absolute great point, right?
The connection between New York and Puerto Rico is beautiful, through music, through poetry, through politics, through everything. I have learned so much through the Puerto Rican community about the history of New York City. So my history is not that important, but the history of...
Well, it's connected because I took a DNA test, and I have like a great grandmother like 800 years ago from Venezuela. So because it was like at the punto, right? And then right across is the islands of Venezuela and Puerto Rico. Hay conexión ahí.
Very much so. Venezuela with all the Caribbean. Actually, we speak with an accent that if we speak to a Colombian, they feel like we are from Dominican.
Yeah, that's because the accent, it sounds so similar.
So there is a high connection. So thank you, Caridad, for bringing your light and your poetry and your energy to this event.
Oh, my pleasure, Raul, and thank you. It was from Raul that I got that line about in 2050. If you want to learn about what's happening now, it was from our conversation with Raul that I got that information. So thank you. Yeah, I see. Yes, this city breeds warriors, resilient, and poker faced. That's true. From Roz, and Richard Martinez is in the chat speaking about this holds true for the 5 boroughs. Oh, Johnny's dad, my father's favorite play was with Raul Julia. I went to Raul Julia's grave over here in Puerto Rico. Roslyn grew up near Jackson Ave. Yeah. So maybe Latanya, would Latanya like to speak, or Madeline would like to share something?
Sure, I feel compelled to represent Brooklyn.
Oh, good.
There's so many Bronxites here. I'm born and raised in Brooklyn. Grew up in East Flatbush, and then the parents bought a home in East New York, and I bought a home in East New York. So I guess that's where the next generation is emerging from. It's the thing about neighborhood stories is everyone has that connection to so many places, and through telling their story, you begin to see the city in different ways, and also see all the influences to the city. So I personally am, my family is from both the Caribbean as well as from the Deep South, and all of those
What part of the Caribbean, if I may ask?
the U.S. Virgin Islands, as well as the British Virgin Islands. But yes, so if you've ever been to the beautiful island of St. Thomas, you've probably met my cousins. Yes. We're a hop and step away from Puerto Rico. So yes. And then other side of my family is from the Carolinas. And they have their own story in Brooklyn of coming up here during the Great Migration and reshaping what we think about communities like the one we started in, which was Bed-Stuy. My grandparents actually bought a home there in the 20s or 30s, and they were there for decades. And there's so many Black and brown folks that shaped that neighborhood, many of whom are leaving now or being pushed out. And so
Wow.
that's kind of the reason why we started the project, was to capture stories like that before they're gone. And, you know, and one of the things that you noted in both the pieces that we shared today is that there's the perception of the community, and then there's the community, the lived experiences of being a part of the community. And I think more opportunities to share how we see ourselves and the loving and nurturing aspects of both our cultures and our everyday experiences, I think is definitely helpful at a time like that. And we work for the city government. That's what the Municipal Archives is a part of, a city agency. And these outreach projects are opportunity for us to okay, yeah, you have the mayoral records and you have, you know, what the city says happened, but how was that interpreted by people who actually lived it? How do they feel about the changes that were made and legislation that was passed? And that's kind of the whole point of a project like this, where you get to have your voice on the same par as the mayoral record of the city. So
I think it's super interesting too that, you know, you spoke of the Great Migration. Like I hadn't imagined it that way, you know, that influx into Bed-Stuy coming from a Great Migration in the 20s. And that is absolutely fascinating. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that, Latanya, and for everything that you've done to contribute into this, you know, making this a success. So thank you for that. If anybody else would like to share, please put it in the chat and let me know. This has been an incredible blessing. If you are interested, I'll repeat again, email stories, right, plural, STORIES, at records, again, plural, .nyc.gov. If you're interested in sharing your story and learning more about this whole movement, email them, stories@records.nyc.gov. Yeah, if you have any questions about that. So, oh, and there's some archives here. Learn more about the neighborhood stories if you visit www.archives.nyc/neighborhood stories. It's all there. It is all there for you. So, I mean, I've been really delving more into the indigenous history of the Bronx, and that's been my goal. And if you go to Classen Point Park right now in Soundview, on the bench, the facing the bridge, the White Stone Bridge, there is a little plaque that says, "Here once stood Snackapin's Siwanoy village for thousands of years," and it has my name on it, and I'm so proud of that. Along with Pepatiang and the Bronx River Alliance, you know, getting together to reclaim these spaces, let people know that when they're sitting there and when they're standing there thousands of years ago, you know, that's real American history. And so I've been trying to discover and uncover and recover those things, and trying to recreate a village in the Soundview section of the Bronx. That's been my movement with an art space called El Garaje. I've been doing all this type of work where trying to create a Nuyorican Poets Cafe, but in the Soundview section in its own way. Not exactly the same kind of thing, but definitely, there is no art space like that in Soundview where I'm from. And then to learn this history, like I want it to be, I have so many visions for the future of, hopefully in 2050, people will look back and be like, she did that. That is my goal. That is my goal, to, bring back the native way, the indigenous way, back to nature, and restoring those little green spaces that are left, because it is amazing to have these buildings and these brownstones and all of that. That's amazing. But those little pockets of trees and green, I really want to save them all. So do I have a podcast? No, but you can follow me at La Bruja NYC or visit my website or look at my videos. I have a Bronx Indigenous video that I'm pretty proud of. AOC shared it and it got 50,000 views in one night on Instagram. And it was about that work, actually discovering that the Bronx is named after the Bronx River and the changes that the Bronx River has gone through the pollution, industrial, and then now the restoration, and now wildlife coming back, and beavers are showing up, and fish and turtles, and just love it. And then and all the indigenous clans and tribes that lived from that river, and how like African people are integral, like connected with Native Americans. Like, don't let anyone make you, believe that is not true. That is absolutely true. And that's part of the video too, is just that history, that shared history. Before colonization, there were African people here. There were, and so I love all of that story, all of that history. I think Hunts Point, I used to know the indigenous name for Hunts Point, and now it escapes me. But all of that stuff, the Lenape, Siwanoy, I just love it all. Jani has an El Barrio piece. You want to share the Barrio piece? Is that what you're saying, Jani? Or am I bugging?
Sure. I would love to share my El Barrio poem.
All right. Well, why don't we do this? Since no one else is up for it, let's close out with Jani Rose and El Barrio.
I'm gonna sign up. I'm gonna sign up and make it official with Raúl. Pero vamos, pa'lante. Nena de la Luna, 212. There was a time when mattresses served as trampolines, centerpieces in fields of rubble. Gasoline perfumed the air. Garbage bins large enough to conceal hosts of sins still smoked plumes on the wind from last night's bonfire. Plastic tops scattered rainbows, dotted the slate of the concrete landscape. A small stick tapped along railings and fences kept time with the rattle of chaos growing inside a growing honey-haired, olive-eyed girl. Looking out of the 8th floor window over stacked red bricks and glinting glass, the Empire State Building winked red, white, and blue from the left. The Taino Towers frowned heavily to her from her right. Beautiful brownstones lay below in disrepair, stuffed to the brim. Cousins, tias, and the boy too slow to play with right, but who knew he liked to touch girls. She, Victorian house dreams, Park Avenue hopes, Viejo San Juan memories, Belvedere Castle princess flying over Central Park, sailing across the Hudson River, running across the Willis Avenue Bridge into the Bronx. She, landing plain fresh green scented mountain beach, carefree amidst Skokie symphonies, into windows she'd peer, wondering whose feet she could see in the blue flickering light. Were those attached to the toes in the dark apartment across the courtyard happy? Were they in danger? Shouts erupted from time to time. Were they dangerous? Life for them was different from what they had seen on TV. Papi never came home after a hard day's work with a peppermint stick calling her half pint. In the pitch of El Barrio midnight, street lamps made presentation of empty cars. They had been places she would never go, carried people whose names she would never know. Backlit red, brown, and tan squares concealed stories behind cheap roll-down shades. Stars twinkled dimly here where the congestion of technology robbed them of their magic. Opening the window as far as she could, she leaned forward at the waist, feet hooked into the thick metal bar leading to the radiator, half flying, leaning over the windowsill, arms open to the navy wind, running her fingers over the rough between the bricks below like a guiro. She thrilled at the thought that no one had ever touched them before, just her. How come there was no graffiti under all of these windows? They were so easy to reach. Forward she leaned as if she could touch her nose to the sky. A gust rustled her dangling tendrils. She looked up as if someone had called her name. Little girl, where do you dream? The moon asked. Between my smiles and tears, she replied into the dark.
Jani Rose, thank you. Thank you for that. Taino Towers. Wow. That's where I had my first job in Taino Towers. I was 14. At the foot of Taino Towers, there used to be a acupuncturist office. And it was run by a Puerto Rican man named Luis Hernandez, who happened to be the brother of the great salsa orchestra, Oscar Hernandez. And he gave me my first job.
They're all connected.
It's all connected. So, and then it's true, the bridge right there, all of that is just, wow. And then now the Tato Laviera Theater is in there. And, you know, we've had the blessing of being with those prominent Nuyorican poets.
Our teachers.
That's right. Our teachers, our mentors, our amazing examples of poetry, bilingual, and storytelling. So, Neighborhood Stories. Thank you, everyone, for joining us and everyone that participated. Stay connected. Join Neighborhood Stories. Go to Neighborhood Stories NYC, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. Check out those archives. And if you haven't written a story about your experience, maybe it's time you did. And if you do, please make sure you think of the Neighborhood Stories archives to put them in for the future generations to know what actually happened here.